Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Checks and Balances TV. I'm your host, Matthew J. Reddick, and I'm committed to giving you the truth you need to financially succeed. In celebration of spring, today's program is entitled In Like a Lion, Out Like a Lamb. Don't get the wool pulled over your eyes by a bad financial advisor. But first, let's see how today's news may impact your financial future. Hollywood accountant to the stars Kenneth Starr was recently sentenced to 7.5 years of jail time for committing a $30 million plus Ponzi scheme. Starr served as a financial advisor and accountant to many current and past celebrities, such as Oscar winner Natalie Portman, actress Uma Thurman, and actors Wesley Snipes, Al Pacino, Martin Scorsese, and Sylvester Stallone, to name just a few. The Securities and Exchange Commission proposed a new rule earlier this month, which would require certain financial institutions to disclose the structure of their incentive-based compensation practices to federal regulators. This new requirement would prohibit such institutions from maintaining employee compensation arrangements that encourage inappropriate risks in their investment offerings to their clients. The proposed rule stems from the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act and requires the SEC, along with several other federal financial regulators, to jointly write rules and guidelines that govern incentive-based compensation practices. Okay, so what's really going on here? Let's check the facts using our checks and balances process. Kenneth Starr, age 67, was found guilty of defrauding investors. Prosecutors estimate that $33.3 million of investors' money was used inappropriately, including buying a $7.5 million apartment in Manhattan, repaying some clients who caught him cheating, and to cover a $4 million legal settlement he owed. In addition to his undisclosed list of current celebrity clients and victims were a former hedge fund manager, a 100-year-old heiress to a family fortune, a well-known philanthropist, and a longtime friend. While the charges of wire fraud, money laundering, and investment advisor fraud could have cost him up to 15 years in prison, Starr asked the judge if he could serve just 5. While he pled guilty to all charges, he requested the reduced sentence because all of his victims were incredibly wealthy individuals, as he said, with millions of dollars in discretionary funds. The presiding judge agreed with his argument and opted to go lenient on Starr and meet in the middle with just a 7.5-year prison sentence. Her reasoning was that although he lost his client's trust, none of the money lost made any devastating or lasting impact on their livelihood. Wesley Snipes, however, is currently serving time in prison for tax evasion, to which he blames at least some of the error on Kenneth Starr's accounting practices. And both Martin Scorsese and Al Pacino have recently been given past due tax notices by the IRS. And just like Wesley Snipes, both of them also blame Starr for his accounting errors. Kenneth Starr is just the latest of a number of Ponzi schemers to get caught and receive jail time. In 2009, the term Ponzi became a buzzword due in part to the infamous actions of Bernie Madoff, as well as the more than 150 Ponzi schemes identified and brought to justice that year. In 2011, many of these scammers and con artists are having their day in court and forced to face the music and exchange their custom suits for a fancy orange jumpsuit. The SEC is attempting to restrict incentive pay used by many investment advisory firms, broker-dealers, and other certain financial institutions with more than $1 billion in assets. Incentive pay is defined as anything above and beyond one's standard compensation agreement. Incentive pay may be in the form of additional stock options, higher commission payouts when selling an investment firm's products, or any other compensation awarded to an employee that is forward-looking and used as an incentive to promote their firm's future sales goals. An example of incentive-based compensation would be if a rep or financial advisor sold in-house mutual funds, or newly issued stock or equity in a company the firm was promoting and underwriting. A bonus, by comparison, is backward-looking and is based on the prior year's achievements. This proposed law is mandated by the Dodd-Frank Act, which says that the 7 different financial regulators must collaborate and develop rules and guidelines to govern pay incentives. The 7 regulators include the Securities and Exchange Commission, the FDIC, the Federal Reserve, the Office of Comptroller of Currency, the Office of Thrift Supervision, the Federal Housing Financial Agency, and the National Credit Union Administration. They've all been charged with reining in pay incentives that promote reckless financial decisions that could harm investors and the American public and potentially destabilize our markets. The proposed law requires covered financial institutions to file annual disclosures about their incentive-based compensation agreements, which would include the structure of their incentive-based compensation arrangements so that regulators can determine whether such additional compensation is excessive. A description of the firm's policies and procedures that govern its incentive-based compensation agreements, and a statement on the specific reasons as to why the firm believes the incentive-based compensation arrangement will help prevent the financial institution from suffering a material financial loss, or the reasons why they do not believe the compensation is excessive. Okay, so you may be asking yourself, Matt, what does all of this really mean to me? Well, now that we've checked the facts, let's balance this news using our checks and balances process to determine what action you should take today. Although there seems to be a resurgence of Ponzi schemes in recent years in the U.S., the concept is not a new one. Ponzi schemes are named after Charles Ponzi, an Italian immigrant who ran an infamous money scheme in the early 1900s. He came up with a money-making idea which involved speculating on postage stamps. He realized that he could take advantage of the difference between U.S. and foreign currencies that were used to buy and sell international mail coupons. He told his investors that he could provide, get this, a 50% return in just 45 days, compared to a 5% return from the bank on their savings account. Investors obviously took the bait, and soon Ponzi became a millionaire. But as with all Ponzi schemes, he kept the scam going by using the money he took in from new investors to pay off earlier investors. However, it wasn't long before the authorities became suspicious of his business dealings, and he was eventually arrested on 86 counts of mail fraud. Schemes of this nature existed long before Charles Ponzi, but it was his postal coupon scheme that coined the term Ponzi scheme that we call them today. Mail fraud is a fairly common conviction for a Ponzi schemer when there is little traceable evidence of their involvement in the actual financial crime and would not otherwise be punished. Mail fraud includes any scheme that attempts to unlawfully obtain money or valuables in which the postal system is used. Mail fraud is a very serious offense and is punishable up to 20 years in prison. While the federal government is working to improve the financial accountability for all Americans, they've only just begun, and it's not foolproof. The SEC's efforts to restrict pay incentives used by investment advisory firms and broker-dealers won't extend to the practice of handing out inflated bonuses to lure these brokers from one investment firm to another. There are deals to be had right now for advisors with a large book of business, and they're making millions for bringing their book of clients from one firm to the next. This practice, unfortunately, is not included in the SEC's proposed rule, as an upfront bonus doesn't create risk for future conduct. Yet unnecessarily moving a client from one firm to the next may very well cost the client money in the long run. Yes, these newly imposed rules are just the beginning to a very long road in protecting Americans from inappropriate investments by brokers and their firms. The Securities and Exchange Commission is comprised of just 5 voting parties. 3 voted to pass the rule and 2 did not. The opponents say it's misguided regulation to take compensation decisions out of the hands of corporate boards and give it to the government. Okay, so what's the bottom line here? While the term Ponzi scheme is nearly 100 years old, unscrupulous people have been robbing, conning, and deceiving others since the dawn of time. When money is at stake, there will always be unethical people who care about no one but themselves and what your money can do for them. The government is trying to put some checks and balances in place to protect you from these would-be schemers and scammers before they wreak havoc to your nest egg. It may take a while for these valiant efforts to really come to fruition, if they ever do at all. Also, keep in mind, there is no typical Ponzi schemer. These con artists come in all different shapes and sizes, races, sex, and religious affiliation. And you can't easily identify a scammer many times until after you've been scammed. Like the weather in the spring, they come in like lions, touting their money-making ability, but when they get caught, they're out like lambs, appearing meek and solemn, but in most cases unremorseful. It took nearly a decade for Bernie Madoff to get caught, and that's with whistleblowers. Unfortunately, their concerns fell on deaf ears at the SEC. Therefore, you must do all you can to protect what you've saved over the years. If it sounds too good to be true, believe me, it probably is. Saying no to 10 good investment opportunities is much better than saying yes to just one bad one. Do your homework and don't get the wool pulled over your eyes by a bad financial advisor or a good con man or woman. In this week's CBTV poll, we asked Americans an important question. Have you ever fallen victim to a financial scheme or scam? The options were A, yes I have. B, yes, but I got out just in time. C was no, I haven't. And D was no, but I know someone who has. Well, 69% of you said that you haven't fallen victim to a financial scheme or scam, and I'm glad to hear that. However, with the large amount of Ponzi schemes and some self-serving advisors out there today, you still must keep your guard up. The important thing is to make sure it doesn't happen to you today or in the future. Stay tuned for my tip, tool, and technique segment later in the show. I'll discuss the 3 most important questions you should ask a financial advisor or professional so you don't fall victim to a financial scam yourself. In our On the Street segment, we travel the country to ask Americans what they think about an important financial topic or issue. For this week's segment, we asked people if they had ever been a victim of a financial scam or con artist. Let's take a look at what America had to say. Well, it seems like this country is full of financial scammers and con artists. Have you been affected by these types of people sometime in the past?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure because I've lost a lot of money in my retirement account.
Well, it seems like this country is just full of financial scammers and con artists. We read about it, we see it on TV all the time. Has anything like that ever happened to you two in the past?
A scam? No.
Scam or con artists taking your money, not fulfilling a job they were supposed to?
I'm proud. I know. I'm glad to say no.
Okay,
I don't.
well that's good to hear. Well, it seems like our country is full of scams and con artists. We see them in the newspaper, on television. Have you ever been taken advantage in a situation like that ever before in the past?
No, I haven't.
Thank goodness, huh?
Thank goodness.
At least not yet, right?
Do something right.
Now, it seems like our country is full of financial scammers and con artists, people being taken advantage of. You read it in the newspaper, on television, it's all over the place. Have you yourself ever been a victim of one of these type of scenarios?
No, I haven't. I've been lucky from that standpoint. Been in business and sold out, retired for some time.
Good.
And luckily, I haven't lost too much in investments over my lifetime, but only because I don't adhere to too many scams. That's exactly right.
That's good. Fortunately, only the first gentleman we interviewed expressed some concern that he had been affected by a financial scheme or scam artist. Financial scams are an enormous problem, especially in today's economy. To protect your hard-earned nest egg, stay tuned for my tip, tool, or technique segment coming up next. And now for Matt's weekly tip, tool, or technique. Developing a financial and retirement plan and investing your assets properly are 2 of the most important things you can do to build a financially secure future. You work hard for your money, and you should take great care to only entrust it to an honest, ethical, and experienced financial advisor who has your best interest at heart. So here are 3 of the most important questions you should ask a financial advisor before doing business with them. Question number 1, what standard are your financial recommendations held to? When dealing with investment professionals, there are 2 different kinds of accountability rules they may be held to: fiduciary or suitability. Fiduciary rules hold a financial professional liable in the event a considerable amount of a client's portfolio is lost under their supervision. They require the professional to act in the client's best interest at all times. Suitability rules, on the other hand, only hold professionals to a limited liability for the outcome and performance of any investment. If your investment suffers a significant loss, the professional may not be held accountable under these rules. It is in your best interest to do business with a professional who follows fiduciary rules. Question number 2. Can you describe your ideal client to me? This question is the best way to see if the financial professional you've selected is a good fit for you. Their answer might give you a clue as to whether or not they can handle your specific financial needs. For example, if you're looking to safely grow your nest egg and your advisor's ideal client is one who is interested in putting the majority of their money in the stock market, then they are probably not the best fit an advisor for you. Question number 3. Who has custody of my accounts? Most advisors work with a custodian who maintains custody of your money, giving you an added layer of protection. But never write a check directly to a broker or any financial advisor. Advisors who have custody of your accounts can technically act without your permission and even liquidate your account without you even knowing about it. With that being said, be sure that you maintain complete authority of when you decide to buy or sell any of your investments or holdings. Now is the time to realize that neither a bad financial advisor or a good con man is responsible for the safe return of your money or interest that you were expecting to receive. Only you are responsible for making sure that you do not fall victim to a financial scheme or scam artist, and that you do not incur unnecessary risks on your investments as well. It's your money. Have a say in how it's managed and by whom. Mark your calendars now for the next installment of our popular series, The Lighter Side of Finance. This upcoming episode will air next week and is entitled Ponzi Schemerwitz. You will learn how to protect yourself and your nest egg from those too good to be true scammers and con artists. And be sure to friend our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel to gain exclusive access to our library of viral videos and the Truth About series. For more information on how to become a checks and balances savvy consumer and to download any of our free reports, visit the download section of our website. Also, be sure to get your copy of the 10 questions to ask your financial advisor before you invest a dime with them. A free report that gives you the information and tools you need to select the best financial advisor you